Synergy Bonus, a bunch of friends who like to sit around, drink, and talk about games. So we did the drinking for the last video, so we're pretty good on that regard.
Slightly altered.
Strike Earth!
Slightly strike the earth.
We're now going to talk about Shovel Knight, the fighting game.
Not yet.
Also generally referred to as Blade Strangers.
Shovel Knight, the fighting game.
Shovel Knight, the fighting game, comes out with the last expansion, King of Cards. It's a thing. It's happening.
It's actually a thing.
So,
but in the meantime, this is
I am filled with joy.
As you should be. Anyways, Blade Strangers.
And Trufflefish.
And the Trufflefish.
This is a 2D fighting crossover game that premiered in August of 2018 from Nicalis. Most of the properties involved with this are Nicalis related, and I think this was, and I'm sure Spoonie's about to correct me in the editing, their 20th anniversary come together thing.
A lot of original generation characters from Nicalis.
And a few from outside Nicalis, and a few original characters to the game. It was originally released on the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, and on Steam, so it's not hard to come by. And, let's see, it was announced June 12th in 2017, so it took less than a year from the announcement for it to come out.
Technically a year and a month.
Soundtrack by the American band Ridiculon, with vocals by Siobhan Magus. And it takes a bunch of classic video game... Well, maybe not so classic, but popular...
Retro.
Not even retro. A lot of them are very new characters who have a retro style, who get rendered in a new light, and they're very pretty and...
Okay, we get it. You have a hard-on for Shovel Knight in this. So do I, but
Not really, actually. I have some thoughts on that, but we'll come around to it. It's, as we said, it's a 2D fighter. They decided to simplify it. You don't have to type in your phone number like you do for things like Killer Instinct or Mortal Kombat or what have you.
Street Fighter.
They took a note from Smash Brothers, and everything is the same 4 buttons: hard attack, soft attack, fast attack, special attack, and what direction you're pushing on the D-pad.
Doug and I put the analogy of it being similar to Evil Zone. If anyone remembers that game.
I love Evil Zone. He needs to play it.
Yeah.
Evil Zone did this better.
It's a 2-button
That's going to be my thoughts here.
4-button fighter here. Actually,
right.
6 buttons because there's the bumpers are involved.
Right. To be fair, most fighting games aren't type in your telephone number. When I think type of in your telephone number, I think of Dragon Ball Z Budokai, where it's punch, 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 triangle, punch, 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 triangle, punch, punch, triangle, punch, square, triangle. It's always end with fucking triangle.
I'm thinking of SNK fighters where you have to actually know a very long formula.
Very technical.
I jumped right to Blaze Blue when you said that.
We'll call that technical. That's very technical.
Yeah, this is not a technical fighting game at all.
And honestly, I struggled with it because...
they wanted to make it very friendly for people who aren't familiar with fighting games, but who might be familiar with the other characters. Because most of the characters in this are not from fighting games.
We just mentioned Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight is in this.
Solange?
A good chunk of the cast from Code of Princess, you may have seen our single-player video on that, or my single-player video on that.
Isaac?
Here. Isaac from The Binding of Isaac.
Which makes everything really freaking dark.
Yeah. Well, no, actually the game itself is really dark. But I'll get into the single player in a minute. And they've grabbed a whole bunch of other things.
Got some Cave Story characters.
Yeah, Cave Story. They've got Curly and they've got Quote. They did introduce a few original characters. Athena is one of them. Lena is there. And then there's a bunch of characters from, I guess, a very popular Japanese RPG that Spoonie's about to throw up their name for in the editing down below that I cannot remember because I've never heard of it.
I hadn't even heard of it before either.
Yeah,
so,
but apparently it's big in Japan.
Like my dick.
Big man Japan. So, I just want to take a moment here to kind of talk about the graphical style. Like you mentioned, it's 2D.
It's beautiful, if you ask me.
I have a little bit of a problem with this.
Really?
Yes, I do, because I love 2D fighting games. And we are in actually 3 console generations now where 2D fighting games should look superb. Very little pixelation. This had a lot of pixelation to the thing.
I didn't notice it.
I did. That was the first thing I noticed.
Says the man with the huge screen TV.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, what is it we always say? Graphics do not make
They do not make the gameplay, but also the gameplay did not make the game in this for me. We have some polarizing feelings about this.
We do. Big difference is I sat down and played the single-player mode extensively, and also because the single-player mode on normal was, stupid American cannot play video game, cranked up the difficulty, and it actually got pretty challenging at higher levels of difficulty.
I'm going to touch on something there in a second. But, like, it felt very stiff to me. I know they tried to make combat simplified, but it felt stiff. And not like stiff in the Mortal Kombat sense. Stiff in the, why aren't these moves flowing like they should?
Because you weren't using the characters properly. For example, Shovel Knight, for reasons beyond my comprehension, is a very reactive character.
That kind of fits with Shovel Knight, though.
Yeah. I do not like that they made him this big, hulking, muscular character. As you can
He's
see
a
on the screen.
giant.
I'm thinking about... Shovel Knight is supposed to be short. If you think about the fact that he's several pixels or almost half a head shorter than most of the other heroes, and like a full head and shoulders shorter than like Polar Knight. And they made him this big, like
huge V-frame.
If Polar Knight was in this, he would be just a monster.
He would be two screens tall.
Plague Knight would be insane.
Yeah. So
I do gotta say though that the character design is very...
Yeah, the character design is very nice. I love what they did with a lot of characters that had previously only been rendered in 8-bit sprite or 16-bit sprite form. The 2 Cave Story characters are beautiful, and it makes me wish that Cave Story was done in that design.
Isaac looks amazing.
Isaac does look fantastic, although
and his mom's cankles.
Oh God!
Why did you share that? Oh.
Also, Isaac attacking with his tears isn't good.
And just some of the other characters, they all look very good. It's very pixelation notwithstanding. It's a very pretty game. Mm-hmm. It's bright. It's colorful. It's everything we ask for.
The thing is, I have a 4K TV, and we actually played it on the Switch, which, whatever. Some people say it's an inferior machine. I think it's a great machine, but pixelation. But I think about like Guilty Gear on the PS2. I didn't see any pixels. They looked phenomenal. They were that tightly packed together. Okay. So that's just what I'm saying.
Contrast to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure HD.
We're going to take these pixels and we're going to use the smudge stick on them, and it looks awful. Give me the pixels. Don't give me the smudge stick.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time. Smudge stick, I don't even know why that's a thing. It's awful.
What about the music? I can't remember some of the music. I know they had some classic tracks.
The music is a bunch of classic tracks that have been reorchestrated and remastered. As I said, the American rock band Ridiculon performed most of them, and the few that do have vocals are done by Siobhan Magnus. For the most part, they're very good, and they fit very well. They're all very recognizable from their various games, if they're from a game and not an original character to the series. I especially liked the ones that were attached to Code of Princess. They were done very well. I can't necessarily say the same for Shovel Knight, but given what Shovel Knight is, the music doesn't translate well into arrangement and orchestration. It really should be left MIDI.
I have the entire arranged album for Shovel Knight, and it is phenomenal. Just gonna put that out there.
Just the quality of them doing the arranged album for the game itself, and then someone else doing an arranged track of the music. There's a difference in artistic view.
Right, it could have been just...
There were a lot of oversights in this game. Like one of the big ones is if you get into multiplayer, particularly online multiplayer, which is where this game shines, none of the characters are locked. There's nothing you have to do to earn them. As opposed to single player, where a little over a third of the characters are locked behind achievement walls. You can't pay to unlock them. There's no credit card transactions.
That's a good thing.
You have to do things in the single player mode to unlock them. For example, if you just complete the single player mode in any difficulty, you can unlock Isaac. If you beat the game with Isaac, you will unlock Shovel Knight. There are a few others that, quote from Cave Story, that I haven't figured out how to unlock him yet because I haven't bothered to look online.
I do think it's cool, though, that everyone is available to play
Not multiplayer.
out of the box multiplayer.
I don't like that. I'd like the idea that you have to earn them.
Okay.
I would go with that as well because it's got the setup of like Smash Brothers.
But I like the fact though that we were able to sit down, pick up, and play with everyone there, and not get stuck behind a paywall or ridiculous achievements. Like
go to 50 battles without losing once.
That's unnecessary. I'd like something simple like beat the game.
Beat it with this character.
Game on hard mode. Beat the game with this character.
Mm-hmm. Like that's the old style that I like.
Yeah. And this game really does delve into that. I did say that I was the one that messed around with single players, so I'm going to go into that for a minute. Mm-hmm. The basic plot behind this is that all of the Nicalis games exist within a multiverse, each one controlled by what I can best describe, and you can see it on the screen here, as a walking PC tower on spider legs, and they're referred to as moats. And something...
The fuck?
Yeah, exactly. An undefined something is attacking them from outside the multiverse. And their job, or typically they have a character, an individual referred to as the Blade Stranger, whose job is to protect them from these assaults from outside the multiverse. And the last Blade Stranger, we don't know who it is, it's never specified, has just fallen in battle. So this entire thing is a search for a new Blade Stranger from heretofore untapped worlds. And they accomplish this by pulling the data for each of these characters from their particular games and implanting in their minds the idea of a universal tournament for a prize. The prize, of course, being the next Blade Stranger who will defend them against the invading force. This works with some, like Solange from the Code of Princess series is the number one intended to win character. It doesn't work so well with others, like her brother Liongate, where they make a nod towards his actual story that he's been brainwashed, and there's at least 3 different personalities combating in his head right there.
Or Isaac, who got thrown into a fucking basement.
Isaac, it's less of a point that they get thrown in the basement, more to the point that because he's an immature, and I don't mean that in like he's childish, I mean that he's an actual child, like a toddler. He can't really communicate because of his stunted development. And we'll get to Isaac in a minute, because he's actually a special case. And he may or may not be the strongest Blade Stranger. Yeah. Like I said, I will come back to that. But like Liongate, because of the various personalities in his head, it doesn't mesh very well. And he starts bleeding over, so he... like when he encounters one of the other cave story characters, they start going off on the Mimigo, and he doesn't know what those are because he wasn't in that game, but he assumes that there's something that will help him achieve his goal from the game that he's from. And the dialogue options get really weird, and they rely very heavily on the idea that you played the other games, which is unfortunate, but fortunately for me, I've played most of the other games, so I enjoyed it. And they go through this, and after you've won the Blade Stranger tournament, they drop down the invading force that killed the last Blade Stranger. And it's totally not a Murakumo unit from Blaze Blue, we swear, except it absolutely is. And yeah, there she is.
And here's a Murakumo unit.
Yeah, side-by-side comparison. That's a Murakumo unit, that's Lena. And, I mean, they touch it up a little bit, and she's a fun little psychotic, lowly character. Yeah, I wish you could see the look on Thrick's face right now. Ada. No, that would be a Shota kind of thing, which is an entirely different story.
Kill it with fire. We have rendered exterminatus.
And so you go through that, and you stomp down on Lena. And unfortunately, this is a weakness in the game. There's a set sort of Deus Ex Machina ending where the goddess of this multiverse steps in and unlocks the memories of the Blade Stranger, allowing them to perform at top function and defeat Lena. Unless you're playing as one of the unlockable characters, and this is where Isaac comes in. Isaac's idea is that he's already a Blade Stranger, they just haven't tapped into him yet. And in his storyline, Solange wins the tournament and then gets her ass kicked by Lena. And then he has to step in and save the day. And they put
By crying.
By crying, but also like by using his special archangel and so on. And after you've beaten it with Isaac, you find out there's this whole gimmicky bit they use with an out-of-date tower that hit a little too close to home for my preferences. Yeah, fuck you both. Who has found a bunch of untapped Blade Strangers who are already Blade Strangers. They don't have to go through the tournament. And it's all the unlockable characters. Isaac, Shovel Knight, and so on. Quote. Yep. And that's where there's a little bit of depth to the story, but I mean, it's a fighting game. You go through a chain of characters. In this case, it's either training or it's actually participating in the Blade Strangers tournament to fight Lena. There's a fun little note. One of the first unlockable characters you get is unlocking Lena herself. She's kind of rough to use because she is a fighting game boss character. But once you figure her out, she's stupid powerful and has some of the best range attacks in the game. And she does get a unique ending because when she wins, she consumes the universe and everything goes blue screen of death. And instead of getting the ending credits, you get a blue screen of death and then your game restarts.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I do like that continuity, though.
Yeah.
You say she's a boss character, and like, I always think when boss characters are fighting at full capacity, Ignis and Zero from King of Fighters, and if you play them, it's like, where do these moves exist?
Right.
They don't exist when I play them, but when I play them, I get my ass kicked. How do you want to start this fight? With the boss at a quarter life. I still can't beat them. What's going on?
Geese Howard.
Yeah.
I know from freaking...
I very much am going to stand by the fact that she's a Murakumo unit. She's a parody and a satire of a Murakumo unit from Blaze Blue, but she's absolutely, with the moves that she does and the way that she functions, if you know how to use Delta or even the unlocked Lambda or the unlocked form of why can't I think of her name? Noelle from Blaze Blue, you know how to use Lena. And will do very well with this character.
I'm going to actually just take this back to the technical aspect of this game here. One thing I did notice is where I said it felt kind of stiff, but like not Mortal Kombat stiff. The hit detection and the hitboxes are very tight and good, and everything connects the way it should.
To the point where you realize that Isaac is a third as tall as any other character, and most of your basic attacks are going to go over his head.
Oh, you swung a high attack, you hit Shovel Knight's horns. That's nice. They're ornamental.
So, I mean, that's nice that they've tightened it up. Because I've played some atrocious fighting games where the hitbox is just...
I hit 2 inches in front of you. That connected.
Why?
I do have a minor complaint. This falls under the hashtag of no dub, no buy. For reasons that escape me, because at least one of the games that they put into this collusion is fully voice acted. There's Japanese voice acting. It's fully voice acted in Japanese, but there's no English voice acting whatsoever. And all of the characters, and I do mean all of them, have unique phrases that they say when they encounter other fighters that are either relevant to their single-player story or are relevant to where they would have been in their actual games.
So Solange and Liongate will actually have a conversation because they're siblings.
Yep.
It sounds like they just wanted to save on localization.
Yeah, and like there's a very long kind of comical thing between Curly and Note, because Note is, as a gag, he's a silent protagonist, and Curly keeps talking at him and responding as if he's responding, but all he responds with is ... because he's a silent protagonist. ...
As he should. Yes, that's what it means.
Yeah.
See our Ninja Gaiden video.
Yeah. And they decided that although this is fully Japanese voice acted, they're not going to put any English voice actors in this whatsoever. And sometimes it's very frustrating because you have no idea what the characters are saying. If you're a closet weeboo like me, you can pick up on a bit of the Japanese. Although there's also some broken Japanglish, whatever you want to call that.
When the Japanese character starts screaming in English, like that has meaning.
When the English character with the Japanese voice actor starts screaming broken English, I can't tell you how often I heard Shovel Knight going, "Rising a shovel!"
It's Rising Credibility Jam! Oh my god, from fucking Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Trooper Fisher! This isn't a war story, this is just a ridiculous experience.
Hold on to that. We'll do a whole video.
No. This is super simple. Before I'd played Guilty Gear, I had these two friends. They were twins. They love fighting games, so they just kicked each other's ass regularly at them. And they introduced me to Guilty Gear. And they had a sound system. And I didn't have a sound system at the time. But I was over there and whatnot. And Jam, when she comes out, she sometimes screams out something. So she came out and screamed, Credibility Jam! In her Japanglish. And it blew out the speaker. That's how high-pitched it was. So, yeah, Japanglish kills sound systems. Beware.
Shovel Knight! Digging for justice! And it's... No, just get me an English voice actor. And this is especially frustrating because Coda Princess is fully voice acted in English. And, like, all of those voice actors are there. And a lot of what happens in the story is taken straight from their game. So you didn't even have to pay them for new recordings. Just transport the sound files over. And they chose not to.
No buy.
Yeah, hashtag no dub, no buy. We stand by that.
I read. But, like, most of the time, Japanese...
Rising a shovel!
I don't think I have any game where it's just specifically Japanese. It's just all in English. I would rather have bad English than Japanese.
On part of it,
See Evil Zone.
based on some of the things that I've read,
Evil Zone is amazing. What are you talking about?
We'll talk about it.
I'm Gally Banish Gregman, the bounty hunter.
a portion of the story is actually told from how the actor, the characters voice act and respond to each other, and it plays into their personalities and so on. And I mean, like with Quote, where he's a silent protagonist, it still works. But with the other characters, we're actually losing out on part of the story because we can't hear what they're saying in a language we speak.
So time out. They don't even have the text boxes then, do they?
Right. This is when the characters
That's a problem.
Yeah,
This is when the characters are actually on the field.
Okay.
And it's either before the combat starts or after the combat ends.
The victory quote.
Yes. That's a problem. I could get behind it if it was Japanese with the English, but not even giving you the English translation.
Same problem I had with the Last Place Blue game.
That is a horrible problem. So
yeah, it's a horrible problem. It's getting worse within the industry.
Unfortunately.
We're going to save money. We're not going to sell the units.
Well, there's two ways it's a trap, because either we're going to sell the units anyway, and we can go, look, people don't care about the English translation, we don't have to do that. Or we're not going to sell the units.
So we're not going to make these games.
Nobody was interested in this in the first place. We're not going to continue.
And then they're also slowly shutting down comment sections and player-based reviews on like Steam and different platforms.
This is where Dissenter becomes very important. Go download it now.
Also, fuck you, Epic Game Store, because you only allow comments and ratings if the publisher allows them. But they're shutting down the comments and user reviews because that detracts purchases. Let's just go with the professional journalist reviews. And yes, those...
No.
You mean paid shills, right?
Exactly.
You know what? We're going to stop this here.
We're done talking about the game and we're starting to get into
pet peeves.
Ethics in Games Journal. I need to go to Kotaku and action! Fuck you, Gamer Kazi!
And with that,
good night
and good gaming. Hey, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed what you saw.
Let us know. Give us a like and a comment down below.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to make sure you get all notifications from us.
As always,
Good night.
good gaming.